From what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong. In these trafficking networks, the main actor is the state?
Well, the state delegates, it profits. That is, the state creates a business, which is the guardianship of minors, and supposedly the state has to invest resources to protect children who are unprotected. The reality is that this creates a business that is linked to supposedly non-profit entities which are mostly connected. Also to political parties or friends. And they take care of those children for $4,000 a month, and $4,000 of public money, of course, obviously that comes from public money, from budgets. And what happens is that the children are in complete neglect. I mean, it's not that a minister comes to abuse a child, it's that children are taken into care and then no one really takes responsibility for protecting them. Just so you see, I mean, probably from what we've seen from beginning to end. How does the state intervene in the guardianship of a child, who is then left unprotected? A girl, in this case, who is unprotected, who is sexually assaulted, with absolute neglect from the administration. This is the case that Justicia Poetica is handling of a minor who contacts Justicia Poetica through our WhatsApp number while in a juvenile center, after having been raped and after spending a few days in a coma, because the police found her after she suffered her rape. So she's asking me for help. So, well, we evaluated the case and it falls within the statutes of the association. All right, let's get into this matter. First obstacle, how can a minor get a lawyer in Spain? This girl who is older than, who is 16 years old, she's 15, 16 years old. She wants to appoint me as her lawyer and for Justicia Poetica to defend her in the case that's being opened for her rape and before the authorities to guarantee her rights. Well, in order for that girl to be able to appoint a lawyer, she has to run away from her center, so that I can go with her to a notary, and before the notary, she can say that she wants me to be her lawyer to defend her in the matter of her rape. And in front of the administration, what happens is that we arrive at the notary without an identification, because the administration takes away her identification, and then, at the notary, how can someone sign a power of attorney? Either you have documentation or you have to go with 2 adult witnesses who can certify that you are who you say you are. So I have to find 2 people who know who this girl is and who can come to the notary as well to certify that this girl wants to appoint me. Her lawyer is legitimate. I get a notarial certificate and, well, I also have to find a notary who has the courage to make that kind of deed for you. I get the notary, I get the deed, a letter of appointment and the deed, letter deed. I go to my office and the police find the girl, arrest her and take her back to the center. As she's being arrested, she messages me on WhatsApp. In the afternoon, I go to the juvenile center, a closed juvenile center, and I go with my notarial deed and record the conversation with the staff member who attends to me. I come to see my client, notarial deed, appointment as attorney, and she tells me, no, you can't see the girl. This has to be authorized by the Principality of Asturias. And I say, excuse me, so the Principality of Asturias has to authorize a fundamental right, which is legal assistance. Listen, what are you saying I want to see? I tell her, no, you won't see her. Talk to the department. I say, no, if I can't see her, I'll call the civil guard. And let them file a report that with the notarial deed, you are not letting me see my client. A murderer has to be able to see his lawyer. The police arrest a rapist, a murderer. He gets immediate lawyer access and appears before a judge within 72 hours. And I told him, listen, do you realize that you are depriving a minor of rights that even the worst criminal in this country has? No. Well, you're not going to know. And with an attitude, well, you're not going to know. Well, I don't know. Fine. So I call the civil guard and I call the civil guard. And the civil guard goes to the door of the juvenile center. And they tell him no. The civil guard. He tells me, Mario, not even we can go in. The civil guard tells me there are punishment cells in the juvenile center. Well, so I go to a court to file a habeas corpus, to tell a judge, I have my underage client detained inside a closed center. I have been appointed as her lawyer and the center won't let me assist her, and I don't know what's happening with that minor inside the center. They dismiss my habeas corpus, saying there's no illegal detention. Well, they dismiss my habeas corpus. I go to the court where the case is being investigated for the rape that this girl has suffered. Well, it takes a month and a half for a judge to issue a court order so that the Principality of Asturias allows a lawyer to see his underage client. In other words, the administration that is supposed to protect the minor has to be ordered by a judge not to violate that girl's fundamental rights and to allow her to see her lawyer. And of course, when I go with that court order to see my client, at the juvenile center, it's like they strip me of my phone. They almost run a detector over me, obviously, so I can't record anything inside. And of course, when they bring the minor down to me, the director of the juvenile center tells me, no, she has requested that an educator be present. When you watch, I had brought the statement of the accused in the rape case for us to watch together. I said I want to be alone with my client because I have the right to communicate confidentially with my client. Automatically, the girl tells me, Mario, they forced me to sign a paper saying that I want the educator to be present. I asked her, but how did you sign that, Mario? 23 hours a day in a punishment cell, they lock me up for 23 hours a day in a 2x2 room where the only thing there is a mattress. And if I make too much trouble, they even take away the mattress. And I get half an hour to play parchisi with an educator, and when I need to use the bathroom, I call. And in a Western country with supposed guarantees of rights, imagine a criminal in prison reporting that, the uproar it would cause. And with the minor's account, I prepare a criminal complaint for the crime of torture. How can you keep a child locked up for 23 hours in a punishment cell? On the other hand, the National Guard had already told me that this existed. I filed the complaint. In an investigating court, they dismissed the complaint. And the reason given by the investigating judge is that there can't be a punishment cell because the facilities are certified. Listen, I'm talking about a room that's enough, a room where you can lock someone up. And there's a statement, and of course, when am I supposed to write the complaint? I already had witnesses, because this minor gave me the contact information of other minors who are now adults, who have already been thrown out of the center, who live there, and who tell me about torture. Mario, are there areas in the juvenile centers where cameras don't record? One told me they hit my head with a fire extinguisher. There was a boy who was made to kneel on chickpeas with plates in his hands, and if he dropped the fruit he had on top, they would hit him. And of course, when you get into this, you end up getting in touch with a lot of people who have been through juvenile centers. It's hell. They tell you some things. And what happens is that since they're minors, since they can't have access to their documents, what a struggle it was for that girl to get a lawyer. We've seen it in the Poetic Justice Association. Do you know what happened? As soon as the judge says, is this your lawyer? And you have to let the girl see that in 20 days, custody was returned to the mother. That is, a minor is only of interest to protect while they're not defended. Once that girl got a lawyer, she was no longer unprotected.